Set up here. All right. Okay. Um, I am jumping straight in on PRs this morning. The first one up, actually, the device for well, the libraries display a layout. Inside of there, it's got the which person is fixing a bug when the animation time was set to 0. The animation time is how long it takes for this to scoot from one side to the other when it changes. Default is like some fraction of a second that makes a nice looking animation. But the docs talk about setting it to 0, which wasn't actually working before, but now it is. I should say thank you to the Bargia, to this person for fixing that. Grab the updated version. So I tried this out the other day, adjusted a couple of tweaks to it. I think this is the new version. Those tweaks. Version here. H. Grab, give us the latest version. Grab that. Keep the one I have here because it has changes I made inside of it, I think. Already on. 0. There it's on 0.5. Takes it a bit longer, and it's got a bit of a wind up at the beginning. Bounce back type thing going on at the end there. That's really neat animation. But it should also work without the animation. How's it going, C. Grover? Seems like the mic noise gate is cutting out some of the... Oh, you know what? Let's... Maybe this will be a bit better. I had it kind of far away and pointed away a little bit. It's pretty directional. Thank you for the heads up. Basically, this stuff moved inside of the else. If handles no animation time by just drawing the either end, the position. And then either way, matter animations are enabled or not, we update the value so that it knows whether it's turned on or off. Nice. Uh-oh. Robot vacuum hiccup. Got lost. Oh dear. The office and doing loops around the chair. Programs stuck in infinite loops are kind of amusing to me, and when the program happens to be a robot, it makes it all the better. Yeah. It's busy with the window right now, but yeah, he'll come by for some ring toy time. Didn't catch Desk Lady Ada last night. That's what I have on the other screen over here. I'm watching about all of these displays that she was showing last night. Definitely nice to see displays coming back around. Yeah. Definitely eyeballing a couple of the capacitive ones that she was showing. One, then 9. We have basically just a bug fix. Yeah, well, I think she was just thinking about the more about the concept of manufacturing at scale, right? It is definitely cheaper, resistive touch, which is the answer she gave that I heard, I think. It's not as good, I don't think. I mean, especially people have phones these days, and so they've gotten really, really used to using capacitive touch. Back in the like Palm Pilot days, there was a lot more people with like little devices with styluses and stuff. Resistive was more common, but capacitive, I think, got ingratiated in everybody's lives with phones. Became very used to it. Um, I mean, I would like, I hope eventually we can just have options for both. Like, if it's a Pi Portal or something, if we take like the Pi Portal form factor, if it can cost 10 or 15 bucks more with a capacitive screen, I probably go for that one. But I understand like some people would probably still just go with the resistive one if they're not interested in the touch, or if they're fine with the stylus, or if they only need like really imprecise touch. Because like resist is fine if you have like big enough buttons and your touch zones are not too small, and like or if you have a stylus, but even if you're just using a finger, you can get by pretty far with resistive. Your interface is simple enough. I think it's just a trade-off. Bad in that context. Yeah. I mean, it just depends totally what you're doing with it. Flash from Worksboard. I don't know if you happen to test all those samples. Yeah, it does seem like a lot to hook up all of those. um, if you need precise action, like for instance, if you're trying to touch something this size, you're probably gonna have a much better time with a stylus. But you know, like if we take this same display, which this is not a touch display anyway, right? This doesn't have either, but if we imagine it did, you know, if you split it in half, you could have a button on either side, and you'd be able to get away with it, I think, just fine. So if your program doesn't need precise controls like that, if your button can get, if your program can get by with 2 inputs, you know, enter and cancel or whatever, then it's good enough for you, right? And then so that $10 or $5 or whatever it is might be well worth it to save that money instead of get the better, more precise touch control from the capacitive. Yeah, more code for sure. Yeah, that's true. Oh, this is the wrong one. Yes. This has not been updated still. Not sure if contributor is going to be coming back for this one. Gotta get back to working on the draft label one of these days. Sat down to do that one day and my GitHub token wasn't squared away, and I hit the rate limit really fast when I was trying to run the script that generates this page. I think I got my token worked out though. I should be able to run that thing and try to figure out what's going on, and if we can put the draft tags on these. Another look from Dan. Does not to merge the draft. Or it's not passing, I guess. Okay, logger, we can try this one. I actually have this one, so resistive requires dimensional calibration, adjusts with temperature. That's a good point as well. Yeah, you tend to have to calibrate it, or if you calibrate it, you can get pretty good results, but it does drift over time. Capacitive. I mean, there are calibration sequences, some of the ones I've seen, but it doesn't seem like a thing you need to do quite as much. I don't know that it deviates itself over time. I wonder if I can just do checkout again. Will that get me the latest version? Even if I already have that branch? Yeah, it looks like it. Okay. So the main thing this PR was after was if you don't pass this, still being able to have it work. So these still work. These don't work, which is intended because it's the null logger, null handler. And this one being blank right here is what got fixed. It was 39? Featherwing TFT is resistive. It played with the touch deck example. It does take multiple taps sometimes to register touch if you're using your fingers. Sensitivity is adjustable via the driver. Screen to screen, the driver is set to be less sensitive by default. Yeah. And in CircuitPython code, there is like, you can access the pressure value if you want. Yeah. S2s are nice for that. Okay. That makes sense. I didn't know this before, but it makes sense if that's true that we don't need to do the try catch on our side. It's to be simpler. Doesn't need the extra layer. Oh, oh yeah, it looks like they were linked. So do you think those issues? Oh, buddy. You make it into frame there? Yeah. He doesn't normally just jump up on the He went from my lap to the desk, basically. He doesn't normally do that, truthfully. He usually just hang out down by my feet. He did one fix here, but there's maybe 12:35. Okay. Maybe we can close this one. Just a bit. One six one four. I guess we go 420 because it's kind of like a new functionality because it used to not work if you didn't pass it an argument. So it's an API change, but it's an API change that's more permissive, basically. Allows you to do something you didn't used to be able to. You had to specify in the past. They call it the root logger. Allow root logger. Kind of fancy. Root. And outside. That part's fixed, but this part maybe is not yet. Maybe look into that later. I'd like to know how the word log started to be used to record something. My knowledge probably started off cutting down trees. That's a good question. Log. From trees to paper? We guess. Tested this one day. Not understanding, was not getting behavior that made sense. But the results of everything I did in here. Like this one's ready. I think Tech Trick's working on this one. Okay, that's right. There are new commits though. There are new commits. I probably looked at this Monday. Yeah, last Monday I looked at this, and last Tuesday new commits came in. So we'll try it out again. We'll try the basic reproducer code that illustrates the issue and the fix, and then we'll try to find some learn guides that use mini MQTT that we can test. Hopefully, probably something with Adafruit.io, maybe. Newspaper is the only thing I can think of. It's always good mental exercise, yeah. First counting was done with sticks. Roman numerals. Oh. Oh, it only prints that out of date thing once per day or something? Not printing the out of date thing anymore. Probably go update it though, but now I don't have a link to the page it's on. Like version or something? Yes, but it doesn't really get us where we go. Is there like update? I think it's just release page, I guess. Remember where it links to. Requests scratch with JSON dumps unload. Yeah, I haven't done MQTT very much. I've done a couple of small tests, and I've done a couple of things with Adafruit.io that used it, but like abstracted away inside the Adafruit.io library. Done too much besides that. One of these days I want to work on the server side. I've never implemented MQTT on the server side. I would like to learn how to... Ideally, I'd like to learn how to set up Django to be an MQTT server, if that's possible. I don't know if it is, but... Each auth token. we go. Actually check out at the beginning of that? Yeah. Copy that. We're going to put it on our device. Get the reproducer code. Used MQTT load, Johnny has. Sounds like it just wraps JSON loads into it. I don't know how it treats the parsing. Do it that way as a as a protocol, as just a way to transfer data. It could be any kind of data. It depends on the APIs. It's mostly if you want like real-time notifications. Like if you want your server to be able to send you some information and you want your client to be able to react pretty much in real time, like right when it received the information. So like think of something like home automation. You have a button that you want to open your garage door. You have something, when you press the button, it sends a signal to the server can send a signal to the garage door opener, but because the server's on the internet, the garage door opener, presumably in this scenario, would be connected to the internet somehow, or connected to something that is connected to the internet. You need it to be pretty much instant, right? You don't want to have to wait for 5 seconds or 10 seconds or anything like that when you press the button before it even starts moving. So you want that signal to come pretty much instantaneously. Mini MQTT is one type of transfer protocol, I guess. I'm not sure if that's a technical term that's correct or not, but it's one way of transferring data where the server can like blast out a message and the client can respond to it in real time. Rather than like a more primitive way would be like polling with HTTP, for instance. So the client could just say, I'm going to ask the server every 10 seconds if it's time yet. And that does work, but then you have that like up to 10-second delay from when it actually became time until you noticed it and started doing something. Telemetry transport. Use it for a home assistant. Yeah. WebSockets, from what I understand, is a similar type of idea where you have this kind of like more real-time server can send a message and clients just receive it at that time without having to like poll. And I've played with WebSockets a fair amount, but never MQTT from the server side. We need the reproducer code, which was in the issue, I think. I don't remember which one. Or do I have it still on my device? That would be convenient. Yeah. Excuse me. Okay, here's what we want. So this is the updated version of the library. This is the most recent version from the PR. And the difference between this PR version and the currently released version is the way that this is getting 5, or in this case actually it got 6, but usually it's 5. 5 callbacks in between each one of the HTTP callbacks. Let's take one quick step back here. There's 0 items inside of it. True. 3 items. So in this one, this is back to the currently released version. We only get one MQTT time, and the MQTT time is going up by 1 every time, but the HTTP time is going up by 5 because we have a time.sleep 5. So 5 seconds are passing. HTTP time is realizing that. MQTT time is not realizing that. It's only bumping by 1 each time. And it turns out what's happening is it's basically building a queue of these messages as they come in, and it's only showing us one message when we call loop here. It's not giving us callbacks for every single one of them until it randomly, well, it's probably not random, but until sometime, I don't know, it's unclear to me how it decides, but at some point we will get one loop where we just get a bunch of these, all of them right there. So they all just come in and it catches back up pretty much to real time. So that last one was 6:02 and the HTTP time was 6:03. Those were pretty much the same. But then now it's back to just one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. And then eventually, in this case it failed eventually and we don't have any retry logic in it. We had some retry logic, or if it had not failed, then eventually it would just get another one of these huge strings of them. That's kind of how it goes. So this fixed version from the PR makes it so when you call loop, you can get back all of your message callbacks that are in the queue instead of only the first one. Which means every 5 seconds you're gonna expect 5 message callbacks. But it means that the latest one should always be the most up-to-date time. Yes, message buffer queue, yes, and that's built into at the library layer, it seems like. And then this PR changes the behavior of it. Okay, and then this is a different issue that is perhaps related. So this is an issue where the HTTP actually is failing, and I think it's... Oh, it finally succeeded. I think the HTTP was failing due to extra stuff in the MQTT buffer. Because this person said basically that their thing solves both of these two issues. One of which was something to do with HTTP not working. I'd be pro this. a little, what is that, M2 or something? Okay. Seems like there's still maybe some issues on the PicoW. Okay. Really, the main thing we need to do is just make sure that the new behavior, getting all these callbacks at once, more reliably, doesn't break any learn guides that use mini MQTT. For examples, I guess, but I don't. Topic? Server it connects to. Broker? Is that a server? MQTT server? Okay. That's pretty cool. Thanks for the tip. Try that. message when the client acts it. Yeah, no, request definitely doesn't do that. It will just raise an error if you don't get your data back. And the server won't, like, requests are client driven, so the server can't, even if the server knew that you tried to request it and that you failed to get it, it can't just like initiate you to retry, really. You have to decide yourself on the client side to retry. Whereas MQTT kind of flips that a bit. The server, if it knows that you didn't acknowledge, it can just send it back out again. Okay, here's the bit about HTTP request also failing due to something in the MQTT queue. Okay. So let's find learn guides that use MQTT. Let's make sure one or two of them are still working all right, and just take a peek and make sure there's nothing that seems like it would get too broken by having it more predictably return all of those message callbacks at once. Everything. Okay. Should be possible for there to be should be possible to make a new subclass of portal base that is made for non-airlift devices. My understanding is the way this is broken up is that portal base should be possible to make portal bases based on other things. And indeed, there's a Blinka portal base, which doesn't help you on ESP32S2, but is an example of portal base being used with a totally different network stack. Because like this doesn't have ESP32 SPI in it. You should be able, I'm pretty sure you should be able to extend this and just swap out the parts that connect to the network. Like PyPortal, this one's going to be extending portal base. Wi-Fi coprocessor. Ah, okay. No, look, hey, there is one. I didn't look far enough down. Yeah, you should be able to use this one. I don't know if there's a library that makes use of it yet. I didn't know it existed, truthfully. You should be, I think you should be able to subclass this and use the other Wi-Fi one, the ESP32S2 one. And then you'd be able to get all of the sort of like helper high level stuff. Yeah, for sure. I do actually have this thing. Could hook this up. Although it's made for a PyPortal? That's not so bad. How's it connected? One of those little 3 W's, okay. Might be interesting to redo this project with the Feather ESP32S2, which is connected to a wire terminal to the board GPIO. Yeah, but the PyPortal doesn't have the bit I was confused about for a second was like the PyPortal doesn't really have exposed GPIO, but but that's not true entirely, right? It has those little JST connectors, which I had forgotten about in the moment. I think, do I have cables for those? I'm not sure. Okay, so I'm gonna go on an expedition to the parts room. I'm gonna try to grab the stuff we would need to test this, which will be power brick thing, PyPortal, and one of the little JST connectors, and probably a tiny screwdriver for those terminals. Yeah, I'll be back in a minute. A few minutes, maybe. That's how quick it goes finding stuff. Okay. Actually, I think went pretty well. No, did we lose our camera? Camera window. Select video mode. iPortal. SD cable. SD cable's plugged in. D4. I think the project was E3, wasn't it? Could certainly switch it, I guess, but it is, yeah, D3. Speaking of loggers, earlier. Digital loggers. Things that I will need to. How that comes out. Power cable. Something to plug in, but that's pretty. Plug in the feather. Power cable. Tiny screwdriver. Say how to get this thing out. Comes firmly inserted. Your hands or a spudger pull it out. Okay, something to pull that out with, because I tried with my hands and I don't know if that's working. They have built-in logging, or it's the company name. Company name. Here's. Well, it is part of the company name. Or it is the company name, but not their website? Kind of odd. Digital Loggers Inc. Someplace in California, but it's IoTrelays.com. But DLI, their logo is Digital Loggers Inc. To the best of my knowledge, it doesn't log anything. I don't know what it would log it to. I mean, I guess maybe if it has a chip inside of it, memory chip of some sort. Okay, power cord, tiny screwdriver, something to help get this out. BRB again. Okay, more parts assembled. Yeah, I guess my best guess is probably their. I mean, for an IoT relay company, I think they'd be pretty early to adopt a website. I guess as though that their domain name just wasn't available the time they tried to buy it. Or their company name doesn't describe what they do, so they bought a different domain name because nobody was going to their website, or people that were expecting them to sell different stuff. Also. Okay, we will try to get this thing out. That was easy. Flathead. Was that look like white and black wires? Is that right? Red is in the middle. It's ground and GPIO. Okay. So with the screws facing forwards, we want white on the right and black on the left. Sorry, I can't really do all of it in frame. I'm clamped on the plastic bit of the jumper wire. Okay. Two wires screw clamped in. Now it goes back into here. One's unused. This. Okay, before we even bring MQTT into the mix, let's just make sure this is actually working. What I'm gonna do is plug in the Pi portal. These are nice turtle graphics from the other day. Now to set it on its own wire. Put it around like. We're gonna plug in something to this. Okay, feather is plugged into here. This is a normally off. So my understanding is when we flip this switch, which is mains power to this box coming in, when we flip this switch, this outlet, which we're not using, and this outlet, which we're not using, would both be hot. These two, one of which we are using, this one, would be off until we connect our input wires here. We would need to connect this GPIO to ground, or maybe vice versa. I don't know if it looks for a connection or a disconnection, I suppose. One of the two, though. When it's connected, it should be one state, on or off, and when it's disconnected, it should be the other state. So I'm going to flip the switch here. Turns this on. This stayed off. Makes sense, because that's said normally off. So now on our Pi portal, if we can change the state of this I/O pin, I think it should turn on our feather. We want to put some tape over the exposed end of the V+. Probably a good idea. This one here, because yeah, it could be touching the different parts of the feather. Here's what I'm gonna do for now. Kind of a weird solution, but it's isolated in its own bag. Drew's Brothers Friday QT connecting it wrong. Try to be careful. It is a risk. It could happen. Would be a bummer, but I accept the risk. Trying to test it out. Hermetically, yeah. Described it in one of their streams. Okay, so on our Pi portal, before I run anything, I will take a quick step through and say out loud my connections as well, just to make sure we don't have anything crazy going on. We're basically doing more like this. We don't have an LED, but we are using an output. I don't think we need to keep our turtle. This was just one of the examples, I believe. Outputs pin. Oop. And I guess we would want pull up, right? You pass it here? I would assume we would want pull up because we'd be connecting it. Is that right? Or do we want pull down? Let's look at the actual project too. This bit, I do have the same. Pi portal. Clients in one of the two normally offs, which is, this is represented by our feather. Okay, and then they're actually using the normally on to power the Pi portal as well, it seems like. I have power from the computer for the Pi portal. Power pin D3, switch to output. It says switch to output, okay. So it doesn't actually have the, like, pull. Maybe we should do that the same. Don't need pull on outputs. Oh, okay. 740 in. I only see one. Or is that? No, I guess it is a 2-pack, but they're both okay. They're both black. It's like a paired wire. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Gotcha. Essentially boils down to just don't let it pull, don't let it lose power while it's writing. Possibly, depending on the way the bootloader is. I mean, I guess if they were writing the bootloader at the time, maybe that gets trickier. It may still be possible to recover, but for the cost of a cutie pie, it may not be worth the hassle. Wouldn't be that surprised. Device killed its own flash. Yeah. And so in my case, I think it will be okay because, or I think I shouldn't have the same problem because theirs was essentially analogous to their Pi portal was getting power from this. And in the example they were talking about, they were using normally on. But the thing is, I would assume when you switch, when these two wires do their switching so that this one and this one turns on, I would expect this one to turn off. Because normally off and normally on are default, or I mean are opposite. So then if this was powering your Pi portal, you would flip these two. This would turn on, this would turn on, this would turn off, which turns your Pi portal off, which might make this switch back. I don't actually know if that would switch back or not. But if that happened while you were updating Flash or something on here, you could end up corrupted. But in my case, my Pi portal is getting its power from the PC. My Pi portal is plugged into the USB hub on my PC, so it's totally separate from this. That does beg the question, though, is it going to work that way? Maybe it needs to be powered by this in order for the grounds to be shared or something? I don't know. We will try it. I think we'll be all right. Fingers crossed, though. And then for this one, I just won't, well, I don't really have any way to have it write anything to the flash anyway, since it's not going to be connected to the PC. But I just won't write anything to the flash while we're flipping that on and off. And so right now I have Pi portal USB goes back to the PC, my hub. Feather USB goes to here, which is in a normally off. And then we have D3 and ground hooked up to left and right inside of this thing. Maybe we do, how was that? It was just switch to output. I'm just going to run it like this. I have no idea. I mean, my assumption would be this is not going to change the state, so it would still be low or high, whatever it is by default. Therefore, my assumption would be that our feather is not going to turn on when we run this. Probably shatter the relay if the controlling device is plugged into the normally on. Oh, and also our Pi portal, actually, I spy down there, is in REPL, so we need to go that to make it run. Okay. Yeah, so far nothing happened. This didn't turn on. Now what we do is in here, let's go output pin dot value true. Oh, I heard it click. Yeah, and now this is booting up. It's actually quite an audible click. I guess makes sense. I mean, it's a relay powering 120 volts. So, and then this is just running the MQTT thing, but really all we care about is the fact that this turned on. Now it's back to off. If we really wanted to, we could do something like... "15 seconds on, then turn off, spend 5 seconds off, and then turn back on." Perhaps not the most practical thing in the world, but it would allow us to see all of this working. That's booting up and doing its thing. Get 15 seconds on. There's our click to turn off. Now off. Our click to turn back on. Booting back up. Okay. That all does appear to work. Now let's get our MQTT stuff in the mix here. Ultimately what we're trying to test. Need to do AIO setup. Create a feed called relay. Do they tell us the group or? Just the feed, and it needs to be named relay. Create the dashboard. Add a switch. I have mini MQT test stash already. So just use that one. New one. Now we gotta switch. I downloaded this. Point out my downloads out here. Okay. This is the project. Relay. Needs relay. Nice. Heard the click. Now on. Off though. Oh, there's our off. We would still be having the old version, I think, of the library anyway, too. So we want to update the library. In fact, we probably should update all of the libraries. This would be stock mini MQTT. Yeah. Publisher work is definitely a good bit of advice. It's tough sometimes. It's easy sometimes to want to not publish it if it doesn't feel finished. You gotta kind of let go. Who knows? Like, people are willing to pick up where you left off more often than you might think, even if you don't get it as far as you wanted. Repeated socket failures. I think there's probably not. I didn't see much retry logic. Well, there's some actually, but it's only on loop, not on connect. So if it fails during connect, then basically you will crash. I did up here. So on is like instantaneous. It's that both times so far on has been like instantaneous. Off was way quicker that time. Still maybe not quite instantaneous, but pretty darn fast. Much faster than the previous time. Okay, now we got a slower on as well, even. Here we haven't received the on yet. Is there a sleep in the... Oh, there's our on. Really. So we will delete this. Back to the new version. I'll go to the new version for the first time on this device. Okay. In this case, we already were off, but it did receive the off pretty quick. They'll have a bit of a delay sometimes. I know one other thing they were talking about was timeout being maybe worth us trying. Getting stuck, like, there's finally our switch over. So that was like, that was several seconds. That was probably 20 or 30 seconds. I want to say that this actually made timeout work because before timeout didn't get passed to wait for message. Therefore, it wasn't actually being used. Because default is 0. This gets any better if we do like 5. One was pretty much instant. One was pretty much instant. Far go, it's so good. Yeah. Honestly, it seems like it reacts faster now. So far, every single one of these have been pretty much instant. It would be kind of fun, albeit not super practical, to make something that hooks up this switch in Adafruit IO to that display IO switch round that we were looking at earlier. To have this one control the one that's on the screen. Not functional or practical in any way, but amusing perhaps. Yeah. This definitely seems way better. Not only does this not break the project, honestly, the project feels like it works better with this version of the library because this has been instant every time. Whereas before we were getting some of those longer delays. I guess I did have to change this, but this wouldn't have been possible, or this wouldn't have had any effect with the old version of the library because this value is technically getting ignored. I'd say that's a success. Is there maybe one more that we could test that is ESP32S2 instead of PyPortal? It seems good to maybe hit one of each. Azure. Put something for your MC server so if you're offline, players can try to get your attention to help. A bad signal. Be kind of cool. Funhouse though. Already have. Macropad. Get network connection. one that seems... I guess this one is using the funhouse as the output for all of this stuff, but you actually need other microcontrollers to be the inputs. Look at smart alarm clock. Okay. Oh wow. I have to create a lot of... So I don't know how to find this one. Hi portal. But that was definitely import Wi-Fi, which is built in instead of airlift. Fortunately, sometimes it's not that easy to pair up code inside this repo with code in the Learn Guide system. Rada 20. We go by user, maybe? We're on one of you a minute ago. Dates. We could try to look for an alarm clock. I don't know. Maybe it didn't end up turning into a guide. This is timer of an alarm clock, but I think it's not going to be using any... Okay. No, it's a different project because it's magtag kitchen timer code. We actually didn't get in our grep. Hmm. This is HTTP though. Ooh. Seems like there is code, just not a guide that I can find. RIO? Well, running a bit low on options that don't require down the funhouse. I guess we could try some tests from mini MQTT repo. Specific to Azure though. Which I don't have Azure set up. PyPortal, 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 Art Alarm Clock. We looked at, but couldn't find the actual learn guide for it. Webhook plant sensor. PyPortal. PyPortal also. really like Funhouse 1, main 1. E30, I think I have that kind of sensor. I mean, I guess I could just fake all of that stuff. Could just fake all this stuff. We could create, well, I mean, they talk about customizing it here too, so we could cut some of them out, but we could only add a few, and then we could just make them into feeds and push data to our feeds using the dashboard, rather than also setting up stuff that is going to push data in. Because our PR change is really only with pulling data, as far as I understand it. The changes were all like wait for message type stuff. Okay, we'll give that a try. Actually use Funhouse stuff? Not really. Kind of big, I guess. Let's scale 2. Alright, here's what we're gonna try. I'll go get my Funhouse if I need to. But we could actually do this on the feather. That would be kind of convenient. I'm gonna switch the brick off. I'm gonna unplug the Pi portal. Unplug the feather and plug it back into my PC. I already have this inside of here. We're gonna do 2 things. Rotation. It scales all to 1. Buttons. Okay. Forgot about the buttons. Alright, I'll be back in a minute. Get the funhouse. Okay. Okay. Take this. So I'll go, let's start with just one thing, maybe lamp. I don't actually know how this works. Remotely. Able to connect to AWS.io. Like we were getting the same error every time. I will update my funhouse. And we failed to connect to the network. Out of Adafruit.io. I believe that's true. It's retry logic. Also stuck, like Control C these. Took it a second. I don't know. Guess I'm gonna give up on that one though, and let's go back to MQTT simple test or stuff from that repo. Or broker and port. Already in there. No idea what port 80. I don't know. I mean, it can't be 80 though, right? Because it would be the website. Tell you what to fill in for these. I don't I don't know about the funhouse. No retry logic built in here, and it seems to be getting stuck in the state where it's not seeing my network, but my network definitely exists. We've been using it on the Feather ESP32S2. Connect socket. This time it got the network. Got an OS error -2. I don't know what's supposed to go here. We're just right back to that. Yeah, I think I'm about to give up on this device. We're just getting more further away from what we're actually trying to test. And we can't get reliable network for some reason. Positional arguments. We ever update it to the new version? I don't remember. Wi-Fi scan bugs out. What is the funhouse using? I don't know. I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, it's ESP32S2 if that's what you mean, main chip, but or if you mean version, I put it on beta 1. But it's the same main chip as the Feather TFT, which we weren't really having the same problem with. Would have been on a similar version, I think. And we got memory. Different. Failure 2. Main one affected. Hard reset bug. Next after hard reset. But what version did that start on? Because this other device is also an ESP32S2 and it's pretty much on the same version, I think. We'll plug it back in here in a minute. And it can't be just as simple as that, right? Because I just got a failed to connect and I only did a soft reboot. Control C, Control D. This time it connected. Although it is hanging forever on connecting to AIO, so I don't know if it is or not. Dan figured out. Would have to run latest build. You could try latest build from S3. I'm a bit perplexed though why the Feather would be different. Yeah, I got a newer. So now we got on the network, let it retry, but it's just hanging forever on mqtt.connect here. But how do I know if these are right? I don't know where it came from. Doesn't have them. Okay, no, it's looking for them in here. But just finding secrets. Not an exact match. Okay. Doesn't have port, so maybe we can leave port off. I mean, I assume it's hanging or getting this error because it's like trying to connect to the web page wouldn't work. About ASP.IDF. Yeah, well, I mean, I would just switch back to the feather. I don't really feel like diving deeper down that rabbit hole right now, truthfully. And the feathers seem to be working out alright, so. This any further right now, really? Like, you have to specify it. Well, you don't have to, right? You could just change the string right here. I do it this way just so I don't have to open up my secrets, right? Because if I have to open up my secrets, then I have to move this to the other window and move it back afterwards. Ah, okay. Photocell on off. I think I got rid of one of those though. Photocell we still have. Looks like it's just going to keep getting an incrementing value. That does appear to be working. On off. Got rid of. I'll put it back. Oh, does on off like. It's listening for that. So if we made another dashboard with a switch. But this one maybe has it. Or it did, but it got rid of it because I deleted it, but we can put it back. Go. Nice. Okay. That appears to be working. Your S2 feather only affects people not using web workflow. Why no one else could replicate the issue? It got out of web workflow. Thing. It was like built. Is it called built-in network or native networking? Okay, I'll probably take it off. After this one for a bit. I had to get up around a bit, go for a walk or something. Five one is the previous one, so we want 552 probably. 562 because it timeout now. I feel like that's a bug fix more than a new feature though, because it was always supposed to work with timeout. It just didn't. That does seem bug fix. Yeah, for sure. All right. Thank you to Calcut, this GitHub user. I think they were a first-time contributor. I'm not sure. I don't recognize their name, but huge thanks to them for fixing this. I think definitely the behavior is better now. Not only just because of the way the time script worked that they showed as the reproducer code, but also even the IoT switcher one. That one was, it's anecdotal. I only tried it maybe half a dozen times or so, but anecdotally it seemed to be working even better than it did before anyway. It was going faster now using the timeout, so pretty nice stuff. And then make sure some of this stuff closes. Could maybe try this one later on. Although it doesn't say what they're subscribing to. Sensor. Okay. Yeah, I don't know for sure if this one is fixed. I think it might be, but we would need to either get this person to retry it or try a version of their code. Although they talk about maybe having tried it and using different timeouts, but maybe that was before timeout was fixed, in which case timeout wouldn't have been expected to do anything. So this one probably we just have to retry, and since they don't give us the feed, we'd have to just use our best judgment. Maybe we make a fake temperature feed or something. Check out the S2 code for Portal Base. Are there any updates on when the next Ada box will ship? If there is another chat open on this subject, please point me there. I do not have any updates, so I work for Adafruit, or to be super specific, I contract with Adafruit. They contract me to work on CircuitPython code and projects and documentation and things like that. It's live streams. So I work for them in that capacity, but I don't work closely with the new products and the sort of like those type of products. So I don't have any kind of insight. I don't have any further insight than you or any other member of the public with regards to the next Ada box. I would say the best place to get information about that is during the weekly shows on Wednesdays. Ask an Engineer specifically. They usually give an update each week to say like what's going on with it. So I know a lot of the past several ones, the update has been just kind of like it's not ready yet, which doesn't feel like much of an update, but it's as much of an update as I have heard. That being said, I did not catch Ask an Engineer the last week or two, so possible I missed something, but that's definitely the best place to get information. I believe they mention something about it each week, and that would also be where you could try to ask about it, although bear in mind, like, they're probably going to make the information available as soon as they know it to be true, so, like, you may not be able to get an answer other than it's not ready yet right now, because they may not know when they're going to have the stuff they need. So it's kind of a long-winded way to say, unfortunately, sorry, I don't have an answer for you. Ask an Engineer is the best place to watch and try asking to get that answer, but do be patient, and it is possible that there is not just an answer other than it's not ready yet, unfortunately. No info on AdaBox, depends on if they get parts. Should know by the end of the week. Okay, there you go. So yeah, it looks like I did miss a bit of info then. So, you know, maybe next week, or this week in 2 days on Wednesday, tune in to Ask an Engineer, and who knows, maybe some more nuggets of information leaking out there. Not really leaking because that's the primary source, but yeah, that's where we're at on that. So yeah, thank you everybody for hanging out and watching. I'm gonna head out for now and just get up and move around a bit, maybe go for a walk, and take care of that. Probably get some lunch or something as well. So thanks for hanging out, everybody, and I will catch you all next time. See ya.